I'm Alex Roberts.
I'm Jared Miller.
And it's time to dangle, snipe, and stampede.
It's gone!
Welcome, everyone, back to Dangle, Snipe, and Stampede. I'm Alex Roberts.
And there's no Jared Miller.
Jared is not here today. He's flying in. Hi, Jared. He's
He's probably in Colorado. What, now?
Yeah, he said he was flying in right when we were about to record, so he's not here today. And this episode is just really going to be talking about the games coming up this weekend, because there are a lot of big games this weekend for all three of the teams as they wrap up the first semester. For two of them, it's the final games of the first semester. For one of them, they've got one more after this weekend. So, Aidan, what were your thoughts? Before we jump into that, you haven't got a chance to tell everyone at home what your thoughts were from the Thanksgiving game, the games right before Thanksgiving against Missouri State. So I think it's only fair to let you get your 2 cents in.
Well, I mean, part of that is you out of nowhere you were like, "Hey, do you want to make a thumbnail for our episode that we recorded yesterday?" I was like, "Oh man, missed it."
You recorded it early.
Yeah. No, I didn't care. So the series was honestly a really fun one.
I agree. It was very fun.
Obviously, that first game did not go the way CU intended. Obviously, 3-0 shutout was played really, really impressively well by the goaltender for.
It was Ross Jones, right?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Ross Jones. Really well done by the goaltender for Missouri State, Ross Jones. He had if it works for me here. Yeah, there we go. Had solid performance. CU only got 24 shots on him, saved 24. And I think part of that was he obviously played very, very well in that game, but I think also CU kind of limited themselves a little bit. They didn't have the best chances. They had opportunities for sure, obviously 24 of them, plus, whatever was blocked, plus whatever else. But I don't really think that they were really shooting as well as they could have been. It light shots. It really was some easy work for Jones. He didn't have to, scramble around the crease all that much. He just basically had to just be in position, and it was mostly making a save, and then obviously you look on the other end of the ice, Ogwen stops 36 of 39. Far more shots there for Missouri State. You get the 3 goals by Hofstetter, Baginski, and Bacardi. And just an overall kind of an unfortunate game for Colorado. A lot of penalties. It was close, obviously, no scoring in the first. But far outshot were the Buffs in that first, and that was kind of the story of that Friday's game on the 17th. Is just a lot of penalties, just bad discipline, and then it ended up costing them. That first goal was a power play goal by Baginski, and then Bacardi and Hofstetter get in on the action. Hofstetter with 2 minutes remaining in that game.
Well, they tried really hard to keep it within reach, and then it's just. They let up 2 goals late.
Yes. At the 16:03 mark of the third was Bacardi, and then the 17:57 for Hofstetter. So yeah, it was unfortunate. It was close. It was a good game to watch. It was fun to watch. It was fun to call.
That is an exact example of a low-scoring game that is fun to watch.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not necessarily a game you go back and rewatch very much.
No, obviously.
But it is one that while you're watching it, you're enjoying your time, even though there's only 1 goal on the board.
Obviously we lost 3-0, so I'm not really going to go back and rewatch that for the fun of it. But
yeah, exactly.
But it definitely was an enjoyable and exciting game. It had pace to it, and it had the makings for the game the next day on the 18th, which was the complete opposite. Which
my gosh. Talk about flipping the script.
Yeah, way more fun. Obviously, we we said not very many shots. It was 8 shots in the first period in the previous game for Colorado. They only have 10 in the first period in the second game against Missouri State. Missouri State having 14 in that first period. But Colorado obviously gets on the board 2.5 minutes in with Pashenik.
Well, and their chances from that first period were much better.
Yes.
Than pretty much the entirety of Friday.
Yes, they made Jones work a lot harder and enough that they ended up substituting in Matt Griffin, the goalie who played all 4 against the Buffs last year for those Missouri State Bears. So, yeah, the Buffs ended up making them work a lot more. Obviously, 2.5 minutes in from Pashenik, just under 7 minutes later from Pearson, and Pashenik again, just a minute after Pearson. So early hat trick watch in the first period for Pashenik, and obviously, unfortunately, wasn't able to get that third one the rest of the game. But the Buffs really were far more dominant in that second game, and it wasn't for lack of shooting and lack of scoring. They only had 6 shots in the second, 7 shots in the third of that second game, and only 1 in overtime, but 1 was all they needed. But it was just they were able to pick their shots far better, and I think they were aiming for more high-quality shots than they were the night before. They got a read on Ross Jones. They got a read on how he liked to play, how the Missouri State defense liked to play, and they were able to get that 3-0 lead in the first and follow it up with 3 more goals from Borgie Wood and Marcin Kevicius in that second. Obviously, allowing 3 in that second isn't ideal, but at the end of the second, you're up 6-3, and after the previous night's game, we were talking, that was basically ideal position for us. Up 3, going into the third, really
up
great.
4 late in that second period,
Yep,
too.
yeah, 6-2.
They were in control of that game.
Yeah. Brett Anderson had that power play goal with about 2 minutes left in that second period. And a little bit weaker of a third. Obviously, you allow 3 Missouri... Just a little bit. Obviously, you allow the 3 Missouri State goals to tie it.
They had their fair share of chances, too. There were a couple breakaway chances. Just really good. I think really good defense from Missouri was able to help them tie the game. I think that is definitely going to be the unsung part of that comeback.
Really good defense, plus with just over 3 minutes left in that second is where they made that goalie switch from Jones to Griffin.
Yeah.
And then thus obviously he was there for the entire third and overtime, gaining that overtime loss. But it was I think better defensive performance for Missouri State. They really solidified down and were able to gain a really tight structure that CU wasn't able to break in that third. And I think it was in part the Buffs let up a little bit. You're up 3, let up a little bit, and Missouri State poured it on a little bit more, and they're able to score 3. But just really good mental determination from Colorado to not let that really dissuade them. They gave up 3 to tie it in the third, and they were like, well, okay, we're going to overtime, and McConaughey scores a minute and 9 seconds. But Missouri State gets a pretty decent chance.
They get one shot.
They get one shot and a pretty decent chance on O'Gwen, and then they mess up that pass at their own blue line, and Pearson takes it, and McConaughey grabs it from him, and game's over from there. And just that was impressive, I think, both to have the composure to finish it for CU in overtime, but to have the composure to not blow that, because they very easily could have allowed a fourth Missouri State goal, lost 7-6 in overtime, but they were able to recollect in the brief couple minutes between the third and overtime
and win the game 7-6.
Yes, yeah. Well, that's the important part. So I think it was a good mental showing in that second game for Colorado. They were able to rebound and bounce back from that 3-0 shutout, solve the goalie who'd been causing them issues all the previous night, score 5 on him. Excuse me.
4.
Only 4?
Yeah, he was pulled after the Borgie breakaway goal.
Yes, he was. Yeah, so score 4 on him, which is 4 more than the previous night. And then you're able to solve 3 more on the goalie they put in to back them up, who they knew from last year, winning twice against Matt Griffin, but also losing twice against Matt Griffin. So I just think it was a really good mental performance from Colorado, and it got them 3 points or 2 points.
2 points for the overtime win.
Yes. I'm sorry, I
2
forgot.
points for the overtime win.
ACHA is a little bit odd with that. Yes, got them, but necessary points.
Those are huge points
for their WCHL standings. We were talking about how Missouri State was at 6th, now 5th, I believe, in the conference.
The extra point from losing in overtime was huge for them. And I think losing that point for Colorado was really something that it really should not have gotten to overtime. Let's be real about that.
No, it shouldn't.
And frankly, when Jared, I was with Jared when he talked to Drew McConaughey after the game, and regarding that first game, Drew actually said that they just weren't hungry for it in that first game.
Yeah.
They were riding high off the win in Utah, and it just felt like they weren't ready to play. And that's what he thought. And they wanted it more on Saturday. And so I think going into this weekend, they need to not let that happen. They need to be hungry for it from the opening puck drop in Fort Collins on Friday night and have it go until the final whistle, until that clock hits 0 at home at the Rec Center on Saturday.
Yeah, because obviously you're starting the series up in Fort Collins, and as much as we've got the very friendly but very passionate rivalry here in Boulder. It's the exact same up in Fort Collins.
Oh yeah,
and they're the students there first week back after Thanksgiving break, at least for us, but I would assume similarly for CSU.
I would assume as well.
They're going to be pumped up. They're going to be very, very into it.
Exactly what they need, and it comes right off the heels of the basketball game that's going to be place tomorrow night. Or well, as the day that we're recording this, when this uploaded, this video is uploaded, I believe that game would be over. Who knows?
The previous night,
it would be over at the point when we upload this. But they play tomorrow night in Fort Collins. So I mean, like they've already watched a CSU basketball game just a couple days prior. Remember last year when the Buffs were at home against the Rams around this time, right? Mm-hmm. They had their home game against Colorado State basketball the next week.
Yes.
So it was kind of like almost a precursor to that. This is kind of like coming off the heels of maybe a big win for Colorado State out in Fort Collins. Who knows?
Yeah,
who knows? I mean, both basketball teams are playing really well right now, so I think that's gonna be a really good game tomorrow night.
Yeah, obviously the Buffs were demoted from the rankings off of that overtime loss to Florida State, and Colorado State up to 20th at the time of this recording. But that's gonna be a good game, and it will be a precursor because that's gonna be
and it leads right into it.
Yes, that's gonna be for us recording this tomorrow and Wednesday, but for anyone watching this at the time of upload yesterday on Wednesday, and then just immediately 2 days later, Friday, Fort Collins, at their ice rink, it's going to be what I assume extremely hostile atmosphere, and
then of course Saturday.
Yes, it's
we get the game.
Yeah,
we get the privilege to do the game.
It's basically all of this is what I've been trying to say is they're not going to have a rowdy home atmosphere for that first game to boost them, because last year they had that and won 8-2 here at home in that first set. Obviously, they dropped the second home game 5-3, giving up 5 straight goals.
That was brutal.
Yes,
brutal.
But they lost both games in Fort Collins as well, and so you're not gonna have a friendly atmosphere up in the Rams territory.
And what you need to do what the Rams did in that second game against CU last year and here at the Rec Center is, the fans are going to be absolutely hostile. They're going to be saying all the words towards you. They're going to be saying all the great phrases that we love to hear at sporting events.
Oh yeah.
You can't let it get to you. That's the big thing. it's just you got to lock in
Lock
as
in
a
and keep
player.
playing your game.
You got to keep playing your game. You hit someone on the board and they start calling for your head. You don't care. You keep hitting them. You keep hitting them in the boards. You keep, you score. Maybe give them a little taunt, but don't go too far. Don't go too far because that's a penalty. That's a penalty.
Don't
go too far.
That
But,
I think is going to be
score and celebrate with your team. The more that you guys as a team can play together and keep the energy up and not get down on yourselves if you fall behind, say 2 or 3-0, like CSU did in that game in February last year here in the rec center. Dig down deep, know what you got to do, and just dig down. I mean, it is a hostile environment, probably the most hostile environment they'll play in all season. If they can go in and they win in Fort Collins, that'll set up a great game at the rec center on Saturday.
And would be huge momentum for really both teams. Obviously, it'd be huge home momentum for the Buffs, coming back home, opportunity to go 2-0 up on the Rams this season. And for the Rams side of things, should you lose at home, it'd be an opportunity for them to be like, okay, let's go beat them in their barn.
You beat us at our house. We're gonna go beat you.
Yeah, we're gonna come into Boulder and beat you guys. So it'll be an interesting game. I think it'll be a really fun game.
Yeah.
And I think, as you were saying, I think probably a big story of the two games will be discipline and penalties.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for the Buffs, can they hold themselves accountable and hold themselves to be disciplined, especially on the road, because they're going to try to rile you up. Both the team and the fans, they're going to try to rally you up. And you obviously saw Game 1 versus Missouri State. That was at home.
Yeah.
And the Buffs had 4, 5, 8 penalties. Buffs had 8 penalties in
4 in the first 10 minutes. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Especially on the road, they're going to capitalize.
Yes,
with the home.
cannot
with the home
do
fans
that. That will be essential, and even at here, it'll be really big to avoid penalties. But you will have some of that crowd boost to help you. What I expect to be a significant crowd, honestly, based on last year.
Well, and to me, I think one of the big things, what was interesting is I think in that second game, or in the February game here at the Rec Center, I think that game was pretty clean, if I remember correctly. It was a pretty clean game. But I remember the second game in Fort Collins, the one they lost 13-2. They got really physical and things got out of hand in that game. A couple game misconducts. Yeah, you can't let that happen. That game was lost at that point. But regardless, you can't let that happen in Fort Collins.
No,
and you can see the Rams didn't let that happen at the Rec Center in February, and they were able to just, they knew the fans were going to be really on them, and they were like, okay, block out the noise. We're going to go down there and we're going to just put everything we have on net. And they put 5.
Yeah.
And 4. And then one empty net goal.
And yeah, they did. We were up 3-0 and playing well. That should have been
they were playing very well.
A solid win for Colorado.
We were surprised going into second intermission. It was 3-1.
Yep.
We were surprised that we were playing that well considering how they played the night prior and everything.
Yes.
They well, and remember they didn't play Liam O'Gwyn in that second set. The second 2 games. They had Nick Novodvorski, who started that game in Fort Collins, got pulled after 3 goals, and then James went in and got destroyed. Yeah. And then he started in that second game, and frankly, he looked really good for 2 periods. Mm-hmm. And then
they took their foot off the gas, and Colorado State recognized that, and they were like, okay, we'll put our foot on the gas, and scored 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You lose 5-3. So you don't want a repeat of that, of course, if you're Colorado. And with penalties, you don't want it to get to the point where the officials have to step in. You really don't want any of your players to be be kicked out of the game, 5-minute majors, game misconducts, whatever. Because, Colorado State, they have a good team. They're obviously part of WCHL.
Which means they're going to be good.
Yes, WCHL is a really good conference this year.
Although I do believe that, and I think even to accentuate how close this game could very well be, in the most recent rankings, CSU 37, Colorado or CU 36.
Yeah.
They are right there with each other.
Yeah.
This is going to be a very tight game.
Yeah, and the Rams they've played 5 more games than us, so they're 10-6-2, whereas we're 6-6-0.
The interesting thing
6-1, sorry.
Interesting thing about Colorado State is that they found ways to win in extra time. They have 3 overtime or shootout wins this season.
Yes.
And that to me is really interesting because it didn't look like they really had many of those opportunities last season.
Well, they have 2 overtime wins and 3 shootout wins.
2 overtime wins?
Yes. Yeah. They are 10 wins, 6 losses, 2 overtime losses, 3 shootout wins, 2 overtime wins.
That is really interesting.
By ACHA, so 27 points. So they're 10 points ahead of the 10th place in WCHL Buffs, but obviously more games played.
Yep. CU finds himself 8th in the conference, though. Not all hope is lost, and I think that's probably because they've just played the fewest amount of games in the conference as well.
Yeah.
I think that they just don't have as much experience, and I think if you're CSU, you want to take advantage of that. You want to make sure that we're going to be playing. When we leave the rec center, we'll have played 20 games.
Mm-hmm.
We've played 6 more games than this team that we're playing right now.
Yes.
We need to make that a big point of emphasis, and we need to show them that we are the better team because of our experience.
Yes, and
CU needs to make sure that they catch them by surprise.
And in their past 10, the Rams are 6-4, whereas the opposite Buffs are 4-6. So this in addition to the Missouri State game, 2 games were important for points and standing wise. So is this. This is a division rival. This is not just a division rival, but a school rival in all sports. So the emotions are going to be higher
very tense.
Yes, than they would be realistically against any other team.
Yeah.
And there's just going to be emotionally that much more to these 2 games here. Negating all that, it's going to be 2 important games points-wise. Should the Buffs win both of these, they're suddenly win both of these in regulation.
They go above the Rams.
They're suddenly in much better, points percentage, points standings in the conference, and I would hope rankings to end the semester. And
well, speaking on the rankings, they took a really what I personally thought was a really heavy drop, despite splitting with Missouri State.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a very heavy drop. They dropped from 28 to 36. They dropped nearly 10 spots.
Yeah.
In 1 week after splitting with the top 25 team at home. And
now,
part of me might think that they lost and then they blew a 4-goal lead.
Yes, I think that's definitely part of it. I think
that's definitely part of their decline, but I still think it's a bit much.
But being able to close it out in overtime, I do think should have.
At least being able to win that game,
yes.
I think at least should have helped their case. But
had they lost in overtime,
this makes total sense. And frankly, I mean, I don't want to know where they would be if they lost that game in overtime.
Wow,
they probably may not even be top 40 right now. So it's gonna be very interesting going forward. And frankly, I think these 2 games are incredibly important, not just because it's against Colorado State, but the good thing is that CU has only been swept in a 2-game series once this year by Central Oklahoma.
Yes.
But on the other hand, they've only swept a 2-game set once, and that was the opener against San Diego State. They have split the other 4 series, and in only one of those did they win the first game.
Yeah.
So they're finding their stride in the second game of these 2-game sets. They need to find a way to make it and get it done in game 1.
Yeah.
Because they can get it done in game 2. They've proven that.
Yes, and that'll be important because that
get
second
done
game is at home. But yes, that first game on the road, Fort Collins, is going to be a big test, end of semester test for this team. Can they lock it down on game 1 on the road?
Well, I think that it's important because they open the second semester with 2 straight 2-game sets on the road against Central Oklahoma and Missouri State.
Yes.
So I think having a good showing on the road is important for them to. I think the crowd and everything will be incredibly important if they're able to come out with a win so that they can maybe even have a semi-decent road performance against Central Oklahoma, but maybe even catch a win or 2 against Missouri State.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be important, and I do definitely think they have a chance.
Oh yeah,
For sure. I mean, just looking points wise.
Colorado State lost both games to SDSU. They've lost twice to San Diego State.
Yes, the Aztecs.
That is a big difference.
The Aztecs, more up and coming this year. They've been doing a lot better.
I
Obviously,
really like what they're doing.
Yes, obviously
and they're going to be in the WCHL next year.
Yep, yeah, they were awful in their first year last year.
Oh, putrid.
Something like 120-1. They're just awful. We beat them 7-0 and 7-1 in our home games, and
we didn't even beat CSU like that bad. Or well, we scored more against Colorado State in that second game.
But Colorado State obviously this year, Aztecs are better. We still beat them both games here to start the season, but they were closer for sure. And the Aztecs beat the Rams twice here.
Now, granted, the Rams were on the road, so it's different, but.
Yes, there's a bit of a difference there, but still,
it's something that you can compare these two teams with.
Yeah.
That is one thing that is nice about the WCHL schedule. There are a lot of common opponents, especially because Colorado and Colorado State are in the same quote-unquote division for like the scheduling purposes. So we play them all the time. They play Missouri State home and away just like we do. They play UCO on the road and at home like we do. So there's a lot of similarities.
It gives a nice base test to see how good each team is versus the other teams. And like I was saying, points-wise, it's going to be interesting among their players because for Colorado, leading or the points leader with 14 points is Dougie Wood, and he's at 1.27 points per game. Next,
I would not have been able to guess that, especially after he didn't play in that first game against San Diego State, and then. He's been
really
fantastic.
Good. He's been really, really good, showing up both in playing style and also on the score sheet. And second below him, just 2 points below, but at 1.09 points per game is Drew McConaughey with 12. And
that is to be expected.
Yes, and both of these guys have played 11 games. Also having played 11 games, Brody Pearson with 11 points, point per game. He's been really good.
He's had a really good season.
So
I'm really impressed with those three.
Yes, looking and that's not to exclude Trunco and Pashenik, just there in fourth and fifth with 10 and 9 points respectively. So it's interesting here with the top 3 points leaders being 14, 12, and 11 points respectively for Colorado. You look at Colorado State. In first for them is Litkovsky, excuse me.
Yep.
1.31 points per game, 21 points. By
13
far,
goals.
Yes, by far their leader. However,
it's not even close.
Not even close. However, second place, Tristan Maestas has 12 points, same as Drew McConaughey.
Mm-hmm. He's got 8 goals.
He's got 8 goals, 4 points. McConaughey has 5 goals, 7 points. But McConaughey has done
7
this.
assists.
Yes, sorry. McConaughey has done this in 11 games for 1.09 points per game. Maestas has done this in 18 games.
And that is a big difference. It's probably why Latkovsky is so far ahead against everyone else because he has played 16
He's played 16 games, 13 and 8 for 21 through 16 is really impressive. But then you see 8 and 4 for 12 over 18 games. Third is Noah Decker, 7 and 3 for 10 in 14 games. He's 0.7 points per game. So suddenly, mostly because they played more games, your points per game is a lot lower.
Well, also...
But suddenly, excluding their leader in Alex Litkovsky, your points, your top points producers are very similar to the top points producers of Colorado, excluding that top one.
But the difference I feel like I see with CU and CSU is that the Rams, every single skater, except for one, Zachary Podlesh, the only skater for Colorado State who has not recorded a point this season.
Yes.
Every other player has recorded at least 1 point throughout the season. And I think that's really important because it shows that every single player on this team is a threat and is capable of drawing up some great pass, great assist, or, firing just an absolute laser.
Yeah.
So
and then
you got to be on your heads and you have got to be very vigilant with this entire roster.
Yeah, and in contrast for that, for Colorado, of the players who have played at least one game and have 0 points, that includes defenseman Hebel, that includes forward Jenin, you have forward Rosalenko, you have defenseman Sandberg, you have forward Dickinson, you've got forward Mitchie, you've got forward Bandoni, and defenseman Hartman, and forward Bunting, and I'm excluding the goalies. So there's a,
They have, now to be fair, like Jenin, Hebel, of course, Grant Robinson, the only player on this D1 team who still has not skated in a game yet.
Yeah, Hebel's played one game, Jennings played 2 games,
if-
Rosalenko 3 games.
It would be really funny if Grant Robinson just shows up and plays on
Hey guys,
Saturday
here's
night.
a hat trick.
Yeah.
But I know I've talked about this for a couple weeks now, but Bunting with 9 games played and 0 points, not great. Bandoni, 6 games played with 0 points. I want to see him have assists. If
But
not goals,
I don't know
assists.
if he has played both games in a 2-game series yet. I don't know if he's done that yet this year. I'm not going to
sure
make
of
an
that
assumption.
myself. Yeah, I don't know
But
that
I have
myself.
not seen much of him. But I know you really like him, and I think he has a lot of potential for this team.
I
but I just
really
don't
like
see
his-
him on the ice.
I
enough.
really like how his play style fits with the team, and I just don't think it's utilized enough. And clearly, he doesn't have any points. So, in contrast, you have a lot of defense, so that is excused a little bit, but a couple forwards there who haven't contributed on the score sheet. And that's not to say they haven't contributed on ice. I've really liked how some of them have played on ice.
Yeah.
Especially my clear ever-present love for Bandoni.
Well,
But-
I mean, and even up until recently, Marcin Kevicius had very little presence on the score sheet. He got a couple of points this past weekend, but
But now he has 5 points.
It's not all about getting on the score sheet, but it does do a lot. I mean, getting on the score sheet is very important, but there are things like Bandoni's got a good play style, and it's like he just hasn't found a way to find an assist or anything.
No, exactly.
I think if they're able to get him going on the score sheet, I think that'll be an absolutely massive help for the team.
Yes, because then you can pair him with like I've said this for like the past couple episodes, is you can pair him with some of these players like Wood, McConaughey, Pearson, Trunko, Pashenik, Issa, Nieslanik, whatever you want, and try to get. If you're not going to get Bandoni goals, then you can try to get some of these higher goal scorers. Wood with 9, McConaughey and Pearson with 5. You can try to get some of these goal scorers some extra goals via assists from these players like Bandoni, which
Just being a playmaker.
yes,
Not necessarily like a sniper.
No.
But he's going to make a lot of plays to set up those goals. I think that is something that I'd love to see from him. Set up a couple really good opportunities.
And I think that's something that they need, honestly, CU, because that's I think kind of been, from having watched them a majority of the season, I think that's been one of their biggest weaknesses. I think is that pressure and that playmaking, because they've shown the ability to have some of these breakaway goals. They've shown some the ability to have some of this enter the zone, bam, 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 here's a goal. But there's been less than I think I would like of them properly setting up in the offensive zone, really wearing down the opponent, and then finding someone to make a big play to score. And against this team of the Rams, I think that could be really, really important, especially on some things like we were talking about with penalties. Should the Rams be taking penalties, especially on these power plays? Because their points leader, Letkowski, he also has 3 power play goals. So Vickers has 2. Hunt Bond also has 2, and a couple other players have 1 power play goal each. So that special teams battle as well could be important, and this practice and trying to get into the habit of being able to really set up and wear down your opponents could be really big, because Colorado's been scoring on the power play, but not as much as I would like.
And I think they're going to be really tested. Their power plays going to be tested because Colorado State's penalty kill is at just over 80%, almost in the top 25 in Division I. And I think that their power play, if they can get going against this great penalty kill for Colorado State, that is going to be a huge win, because that is really the big leverage special teams wise that CSU has.
Yeah. Yeah, and obviously I remember from last year their goalie Sam Simon, who I would assume is their main
I would
starting
assume he
goalie
would
this weekend.
start again.
Was really, really good. And
Yeah.
you look at power play goals for the Buffs, the max you have per player is 2. Marcinkiewicz has 2, Pashenik has 2, Pearson 2, Wood 2, and then you have like Borgie 1, Issa 1, Trunka 1, and that's it. So that skill of being able to set up and make some plays and really try to dominate, even if you don't score on the power play, just getting that momentum and perhaps setting up for just after the power play, future power plays, whatever, against what you've said is a good penalty kill, could be very, very vital in this game because clearly a number of the players in Colorado State can score these goals. You've got 13 goals, 8 goals, 7 goals, 5 goals going down the list. And you might need to negate some of that should they be scoring a lot 5-on-5 with the man advantage should you get it.
Yeah, so there's a lot riding on these two games.
Yes.
Safe to say there's a lot riding on these two games. Both of these teams, it's the end of their first semester, I believe. Hang on. Yeah, neither of these teams play after this weekend. Actually, most of the WCHL is done after this weekend. A couple games will take place next weekend, but most of the conference will be done with the first semester after this weekend. So, I mean, these are 2 huge games for CU. I'd love to see them get 2 wins here.
Yeah.
Not just because it's CSU, but because they
In part.
Well,
but,
yes.
Emotionally in part.
But from a just an overall team standpoint, I really think that they need to find a way to win both games in a set because they've only done that once, and it was against San Diego State. I would love to see them do it against Colorado State because we all know they're not going to get that. It's not going to happen against Central Oklahoma.
No,
Hate
probably
to break
not.
it to you,
Probably not. No.
It's probably not going to happen.
If it did, I'd be ecstatic. But
If they
I
won
really
one
don't think it
game
will.
against
Yes.
Central Oklahoma, I would be thrilled.
I mean, my entire time here, they haven't won against UCO.
No,
So
no.
that would be fun. But
That
Yeah.
would probably be the win of the year.
that would be crazy. But yeah, these games here against Colorado State are just simply even important for just standings and pushing yourself up in these standings, pushing yourself up in the eyes of WCHL,
It's
eyes
not
of
too
ACHA.
late. It's not too late to get
No, for
yourself
sure.
into. And I think I did hear I think they did actually expand nationals a little bit. So nationals still is in sight, but they really have got. I think if they're going to make a push to nationals, it all starts this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It all starts this weekend because UCO is going to be a tough series. Missouri State on the road is going to be a tough series. And then when they come home for Oklahoma, Oklahoma's an improved team. So I feel like they got to really make a statement here against Colorado State.
Yeah, no, for sure. And they just simply need to score more, I think, because Colorado State has scored 61 goals as a team, whereas the Buffs have scored 38.
Now, granted, that is because of 8 games more played,
Yes,
or 6 more
that's-
games played, but
that's more
still,
games
that's
played.
more average.
But on the other side of things, still more games played. But on the
Yes.
other side of things, Colorado State has given up 63 goals, whereas we have given up 46.
There's just the games are a lot lower scoring for CU than it is
Yes.
for CSU.
So by just by looking at those stats, you should be wanting to look at that and say, if we can get going on the power play, Colorado State has 276 penalty minutes. Colorado has 223. Again,
Yeah.
more games played. But if we can get going on the power play, if we can kind of really stay how we've been, or even improve at 5-on-5, and try to nullify them as best we can 5-on-5, that should be a recipe for success, theoretically, for the Buffs. Because I would assume after a pretty good showing in that second game against Missouri State, I would assume they start Ogwen again.
Yeah,
At least for
I
the
wouldn't doubt it.
no, at least for the first game, and I would say definitely for the home game, probably. They start Ogwen. So, and we've discussed how they tend to play better in front of Ogwen.
Yeah,
You have your seemingly better goalie in net thus far through the season. you need to count on him to make the big saves where it's needed, but you need to be able to nullify a high-scoring CSU team. And who knows, maybe you can kind of drag them into like a 3-2 win or something. Yeah. Or, again, what would be exciting and also exciting personally just for us.
Yeah.
And also a way to beat Colorado State at their own game is beat them in a high-scoring game, you know, or score a lot against them. So there's a number of ways that the Buffs can tackle this, and obviously they have a couple more days before Friday and Saturday to prepare. But I do think it's going to be a very essential matchup, these two games in Fort Collins and Boulder.
Well, a huge series coming up between the Rams and the Buffs. We've talked at length about it. I want to jump to another team that has two huge home games this week, the women's team.
Yes.
They have struggled, to put it lightly, this year. They have struggled.
Yes. Yeah.
To
not sugarcoat it, they have not played very well, unfortunately.
And they get an opportunity to get two huge conference wins this weekend. They're playing Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon has won just one game this season.
Grand Canyon has played awfully this season. Yeah.
But I think what I've noticed really interestingly when it comes to like overall the women's D1, the WWCHL is a very weak conference this year.
Yes.
ASU is top 10, but Utah's the second highest ranked team in the WWCHL. They're number 22 out of 32. 5 teams of 6 are in the bottom 10.
Yeah, then you have Denver, CSU, Colorado, and then
GCU.
Aforementioned GCU.
Right now, CU is at 24 of 31. Excuse me, not 32, 31. Grand Canyon's at 23.
Mm-hmm.
So they're right next to each other. Denver's actually at 26, despite the pretty good start they've had this year.
Mm-hmm.
So they must have not really done much to impress the computer rankings. But it's safe to say that these are two games you have to win. And we've talked about these games a little bit going into, even back to when they played Denver at home a month ago at this point. Mm-hmm. They played Denver one more time, but they haven't played in a month.
No.
They need to come out firing on all cylinders here against GCU.
Yeah, they're 2-8, and GCU is 1-9. Both teams have played 10 games. Colorado has 4 points. GCU has 10. The big kicker here is and we've talked about this extensively in our fun conference room podcast 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Is that Colorado has a goal differential of -27. Grand Canyon has a goal differential of -51.
That is just
abysmal. 13 goals for, 64 against is just that's bad, especially for
you can't let them score.
Especially for the team. You can't let them score, but especially for the team who was the runner-up in this conference tournament last year. Literally last year, they were the runner-up to Arizona State.
It's really weird because I was just looking at their roster earlier today. Their roster hasn't changed a whole lot.
No,
they lost
haven't. I'm sure I'll recognize a number of their names.
They lost Coty. They lost their leading scorer, but they still have Micah Summer and Reek Skingrich and Roy Arteaga. They have some of these players that were really good.
I do remember Arteaga. She was good.
Yeah, they had some good plays. Arteaga does not have a goal this year.
Really?
Arteaga's played 10 games, all 10 games.
Really?
Has 4 assists, does not have a goal this season.
Wow.
Only 4 players on this team have more than 1 goal this season. Summer, Gingrich, and Lacombe all have 3 goals, and Natalie Saldi looks to be a new player on the team, has 2 goals. And I mean, it's not much better than the Buffs. Not much worse. The Buffs aren't much better.
No, there's not really a high ground for us to be speaking here with this women's team at the moment. But the thing is, they definitely can be better.
Yeah.
And by all means, they should absolutely be better than Grand Canyon this weekend. They've won 1 more game than the Antelopes, but they should win both of these, and honestly, handedly. I think if you're looking
want to have any shot,
if you're looking for any shot of sticking in that top 4, obviously the Buffs are in 5th right now, 4 points behind Colorado State. If you're looking for any shot of being there in that tournament, and making up some ground in the points differential between the Buffs here and then above them Rams, Pioneers, Utes, Sun Devils. These are 2 must-win games.
GCU will also play Colorado State this weekend as well. So November 30th, so on Thursday they play in Fort Collins. Friday they'll play here in Boulder. Saturday they'll play in Fort Collins again, which I think is probably good scheduling-wise because of all the stuff that's going on at the Rec Center on the 2nd on Saturday.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then Sunday they'll play here in Boulder again. So GCU has 4 conference games here in Colorado. Honestly, you want the best-case scenario, Colorado wins both their games against GCU. GCU wins both games against Colorado State, and Colorado State's now fighting for their lives going into the second semester.
Of course, that's obviously best case scenario.
Will it happen? Probably not.
Probably not. But
you got to do what you can to get both of these wins.
Yes, definitely. And for Colorado State, they've played 13 games, whereas the Buffs have played 10. So they have a 3-game advantage on them to be able to make up these points. They're 5 behind with 3 games in hand. There's room there to make up ground, especially should you win these two Antelopes games, regardless if the Rams beat GCU in one or both of the games. But basically, this weekend is must win for the women.
And it's especially considering how they don't get a home series after these 2 games. They don't play at home until February.
Yeah,
they start on the road for 2 weeks in the second semester. 3 weeks, actually. 3 weeks. Their first home games. They only have 4 home games in the second semester. 2 against Wyoming, which will be wins because Wyoming is the bottom of the division. They have been. Mm-hmm. They will continue to be. That is not a good team.
No.
They need to win those games. And then they get CSU. So you want to win for your home crowd.
Yes.
You got to do it now.
Yes,
give them some hope for the rest of the year.
Those CSU games at the end of the season will be all the more important if you win these 2 games here, because suddenly you're much closer to Colorado State.
And who knows
points.
how things go?
Yeah, who knows how they shake up
the rest
in
of
the second
thing?
semester? Exactly.
Who knows? And who knows? Maybe both of them get a trip to Salt Lake City.
Yep.
Because maybe Utah just falls off a cliff. Maybe Denver falls off a cliff. Maybe GCU just doesn't get any wins this weekend.
Yeah.
And they're effectively knocked out.
Anything can happen, but you need to be looking at your top points producers for anything. You need to be looking at Facelli. You need to be looking at Bonk. You need to be looking at Atwood, Ewald. You need to be looking at McDonald, Ruse, Furla. All these games are extremely important, and your players aren't really, I would say, living up to the task thus far this semester, because you have a bunch of players who you've got the 4 of them here. You've got Goldenberg, McCloskey, Nasty, and Raymond have played in 10 games each with not a single point. And you've got the goalies playing pretty decently, but your offense is just unable to help out there thus far through the season. They've just been unable to put much of anything really together outside of a couple games here and there. And in a couple games like that Montana State game where, by all means, they should have scored more.
They should have scored. They
Way
probably
more.
should have put double digits on the board.
Yes. And it's games like these where you need to, you can look at some of the other 2. You can look at the 2 men's teams to see how this could help you. The men's D2 team, kind of flying by the seat of their pants, kind of in a bit of a rut, and you get beaten by Metro State, and you're like, okay, where do we go from here?
We have Idaho State
tomorrow. Well, this is from the perspective of having just lost Metro State, but you have Idaho State tomorrow. They're a brand new team. They've played 2 games.
It was just their 5th game as a team.
Yeah, they've played
crazy
4 games, Yeah, the game only popped in on the schedule like partially through the semester or something like that.
Jared genuinely thought the game was not going to happen. And when he saw Idaho State's team walk into the rec center, he was like befuddled. Like I could tell he was like, oh my God, this is actually happening.
And
this is going to be the worst game of my life.
Yeah, and what does that team do? They win 14-1.
Yep.
And that's not to say they won't have an easy time or a tough time the rest of the season, but it's one of those games.
It's a get-right game.
Yes, it's a get-right game or series that you want and that you need. And for the D1, the men's D1 team, you had that a little bit with the second game of Missouri State. You know, you didn't have any offense. You couldn't find anything in the first game. Get-right game, you win in overtime, 7-6.
You put up
a lot
7.
of offense. Second game, yes,
and
exactly.
they play up to their full potential in that game. I think they just need to find. They need to find those chances.
This is that exact same type of scenario for the women's D1 team, where these are two games where
this is the perfect game at the perfect time.
I'd like them to win at least one. At the very least. Obviously, I'd like them to win 2.
They should
and honestly,
win both.
They should win both, but at the very least, win 1.
If they can't win either of these games against GCU,
that's tough sledding for the rest of the season.
I don't think they get in. I don't think there is a reality where they can put up a fight because they're
just too far behind at that point.
I mean, at that point, GCU now has 3 wins in the conference. CSU, let's just say CSU also loses both. Let's just say in a hypothetical situation, right? Both CU and CSU are the 2 out right now.
Yeah.
Going into the second semester. CU has out-of-conference games against Minnesota, which Minnesota is clearly the better team. They play in Fort Collins for 2 games. Then they play in Salt Lake City for 2 games. And then they play another non-conference series, and then they have CSU at home again. They have 6 conference games in the second semester. These 2 games are imperative to win. They lose both these games, they go to 1-6 in the conference this year. They would need to go 5-1 to break even. Or actually, I don't even think they'd break even. They need to go 6-0 to have a winning record in the conference this season.
And based on their performance thus far and who they would be playing against in that second semester, I'm with you. I don't think that's possible, honestly. Now,
their season's in the balance this weekend.
Yes,
safe to say.
Of course, they are more than welcome to prove us wrong.
Oh my gosh!
Please.
If you win in Minnesota, I will not complain at all.
Please do prove us wrong. But just obviously based on just everything
what we've
seen
this
thus
year.
far, it's
the season looks to be in the balance
this weekend or bust. Yeah, and this isn't a certain thing. Even if you win both these games this weekend, there's no guarantee you get in.
No,
but your chances are so much more tremendously
improved. You get put
improved.
in a great position.
Yes, your chances and ability to get there are so much more improved than even winning 1. But obviously,
because they still have
both.
2 wins to catch up to Denver and Utah.
Yep,
and they're sitting at number 2 and 3 in the conference right now. You've got to get a win here. Yeah. CSU, CU, and GCU all have 1 win in conference. This weekend is massive for tournament implications in the WWCHL with all 3 of these teams going head-to-head. Of course, CU and CSU do not play this weekend, but GCU, CSU, CU, these are must-win games. These are huge games in determining your probability to making it to Salt Lake City in, I believe it would be late February. Maybe the first weekend of March. I'm not 100% sure, but your chances go up a big time if you win these games.
It's a big weekend for the teams here. There's a lot of potential for righting seasons.
Yeah, riding the ship.
Yes,
and
there's a lot of potential for riding seasons.
Every game's at home
weekend.
too. You get to be in front of the Buff faithful.
Yep.
And that includes the D2 team. Actually, the D2 team has 1 road game. They play in Fort Collins as well.
Yes.
Well as the D1 team.
But then on Saturday, they play Texas. And the week after, they play CSU.
So they have 2 home games left as well to end the first semester here. And for the D2 team, because of how the BMHC is structured, they don't have to worry about getting into a tournament or anything. But I think they just have not looked. They've looked very beatable this year.
Yes.
They've looked very beatable. They have stuck with a couple teams, but they have looked pretty beatable this year. And they need to dig deep. I mean, this will be the second TCHC conference team they play this year. Of course, they played East Texas Baptist for 2 games back in October, and we saw how those games went.
Lost both
3
of those.
games, 3 goals in 2 games.
Yeah.
Both by both teams.
Yeah.
Very
low scoring.
I don't expect that to be the exact same. I think it could be low scoring because it could be, but
I think that
they
was
need to
partially
at least find something. Because again,
Yes.
if you don't score, you can't win a hockey game.
That's
a pretty obvious fact.
That's the base. If you, it's the base. If you don't, well, okay. Unless you decide to go do
shootout, no score, then maybe.
I'm
that's it.
Quite experienced that with the Islanders. And,
that's
Sorokin here.
that sounds like a you problem.
Those are in the NHL. Those are a very rare. Occurrence, a 0-0 shootout win for a team. And I got to actually witness one. I got to go to a game in person for that last year and see Ilya Sorokin have a shutout and lose 1-0.
Oh.
He shut out both Georgiev and Sorokin in Avs Islanders last year, had a shutout, went to shootout, and the Avs scored 1 goal and won. And then this just happened a couple days ago against the Flyers. They both who's their goalie? Ersson and Sorokin had shutout and went to shootout and the Flyers scored 1 goal and the Islanders lost. So it's accepting that very rare scenario, you can't win hockey games unless you score. And I think part of that really low scoring with the D2 team was definitely in part to East Texas Baptist. We noted before that series they were a very shut down, very physical, very defensive based team, and it showed. It was what 1-0 and a 2-0 win for them. Yep. Yeah. So I think that is a little bit more of an outlier. I don't think it's.
I don't think we're going to see that again, but we very well could.
We very well
play
could
in the same conference.
I mean, you take the Metro State game. Like a week and a half ago or whatever it was, the D2 team scored. It was 4-2, right? Metro State.
You talking about the road game or the home game?
The home game.
That was 4-1 at one point.
Yeah. So they're just not scoring.
No,
a lot.
They need to. I think their problem.
And
problem
outside
is
of
offense.
an extremely inexperienced team in Idaho State, which should have been that many goals or more. They just
they did help their scoring woes. Kovney had 4 goals. He had a 7-point game.
Yeah.
Simpson had a hat trick. That was great and everything.
But you need to continue that.
You
need to continue that.
Which is why I was really happy that game popped up on the schedule when it did.
Yes.
Because
that was a really good time for a fix your offense game.
And even then, there were plenty of times where I'm just like, the offense is. I truly do think the offense is the issue for the D2 Buffs here. They just have struggled finding ways to putting pucks in the back of the net. What I wanted to see from them in the third period after they were up 10-1 was to try new things and try to get creative and see if you can actually score from some of these and put things on net, because you're not going to get that opportunity. You may be forced to shoot from some of those tough angles against a better team like Texas, who is a top 20 team in the West region, and so is Colorado State. These next 2 teams are huge for them, and it just they've really got to pull it together, because they're sitting at number 26 in the West region right now. Texas is at 19, CSU 20, East Texas Baptist is at 17 right now, to put that in perspective. So, I mean, like, they can hang with some of these better teams. Loyola Marymount, who they lost by just 1 goal and 7-6 out in California, they're at number 10 in the conference right now. So, or not in the conference, in the West region. So they can hang with some of these better teams in the region. I mean, don't even get me started. They actually beat UCLA, who's currently ranked at 13 in the West. Yeah. So they can hang with some of these better teams. Now, can they find a way to win and score against these teams and find a way to get a couple wins?
Well, yeah. I mean, just to, this is Well, for out of pure audio, this is going to be a little bit annoying to hear, so we might, put a screen grab of exactly what I'm looking at here, but the full game records for the D2 team going to the start of the semester, you lost 3-2 to Denver, 6-3 to Denver. You beat Wyoming 7-2 and 8-1. You lost to East Texas Baptist 1-0 and 2-0. You lost to Denver 4-0 or 4-1. Excuse me. You beat California State Northridge, or lost to California State Northridge. Sorry, 5-3. Beat UCLA 4-3. Lose to Loyola Marymount 7-6. Lose to Metro State Denver 8-4. Lose to Metro State Denver 5-3. And beat Idaho State 14-1. So in a lot of those games, aside from Wyoming, who is not a fantastic team, and a couple of these other games, they're not allowing an egregious amount of goals when they're not also scoring a decent amount of goals, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
They allowed 7 goals to Loyola Marymount, but they scored 6.
That is a very much of an outlier for their entire season.
They allowed 3 to UCLA, but scored 4. They allowed 5 to Northridge, but scored 3. But then you allowed 4 to Denver. You only score 1. You allow 6 to Denver. You only score 3. So there's, but also to Denver, you allow 3 and only score 2.
This is something that I'm just now noticing. They've only lost, they are 4-1 when scoring 4 more goals.
Yeah.
They scored the 5 games they've scored 4 goals, or actually, excuse me, they're 4-2, 6 games. They lost to Metro State 8-4 and to Loyola Marymount 7-6. They beat the other times they've scored 4 plus, they've won against UCLA, Idaho State, and Wyoming twice. They just need to find the back of the net because the defense is doing a good job.
Yes,
they're not letting up crazy amounts of goals.
And there's a little bit of taking that with a little bit of a grain of salt.
Yes,
just
of
because
course.
Wyoming, not great. Idaho State,
Not
great. But the UCLA game, pretty good.
Yeah.
UCLA, pretty good. So it's...
If they can put up a performance like that against Texas and CSU, they're going to have a good chance at winning those games.
Yes, they need to be a little bit more structured, a little bit just more solid. Just a little bit on defense. Because again, they haven't had a ton of they haven't had a game really where they've been blown out outside of that first Metro State game.
Yeah, that's their biggest loss of the season.
And that was by 4 goals. You could count the 3 goals difference in that second Denver game, but other than that, they haven't had a game where they've really been blown out that much. So, where's the offense? If you can keep that up, where's the offense? You just score. That honestly, we could do we could do that. That one Sabres keys to the game from a couple years ago, where the 3 keys to the game were try to score, keep scoring.
No, I don't remember this.
No, I'll find that in a second. But they that was something they put up a couple years ago. I don't remember when, but a couple years ago on
That's
the broadcast.
fitting for that franchise.
And sorry, Sabres. Sorry, Sabres.
No, I want you to change things this year. Go to the playoffs,
I know,
please.
I know.
want you to get in.
Well, Thompson's injured and whatever. But
Anyways,
but honestly, might do that for this D2 team, because really, you just need to score. Is basically their main issue, because Siegel and Lawrence have been fine. They've been pretty fine.
Yeah, Siegel has got a 3.61 goals against average in 9 starts, so it's not world. He's not world, not a world beater.
No, but
and his save percentage is under 900, so I feel like he can be better. But I feel like there is a lot to be said about the offense, and the more you support your goaltender, the better they're going to play.
Yes,
I think,
because at some point, it always sounds cliche, always, but at some point, good offense is good defense.
Yep.
You know, if you can be able to more consistently than not pressure the opposing team and kind of hem them in and whatever, you're going to allow fewer dangerous chances on your end. And that's going to boost your defense. That's going to boost your goaltending stats. And so Siegel and Lawrence have been fine. They've been pretty good. They've been fine. And I would say the defense has overall, for the most part, also been fine. It's just that they're not scoring. And that's really their one issue at the moment is they're just not scoring.
Nope.
You know, they just don't have those points as a team. And if they can find those,
Great.
then I think they have a lot better chances, honestly. I'm in complete agreement with you on that.
Yeah. So, in all of this hour-long talk to say,
Have we been going an hour already?
Yeah.
Wow. Jeez.
all of this this hour to say, this weekend is absolutely vital for CU hockey this season.
Massive. All three of them.
All three of them have got huge weekends, and if they're able to pull off wins, greatly changes the trajectory of all three of these teams' seasons.
Which makes it a really fun weekend. I'm actually
I know,
very
it's
excited.
super exciting.
It's gonna be exciting to see how these games go and how
And the fact
they're
that they
gonna
get them all at
perform.
home too.
Yes.
That's the best part to me.
Yes, they don't have to be like, okay, you know, here's one with fans and then we're immediately going to go on the road or whatever. They just get to, you know, stay at home, you know, not have a change of scenery and just try to go to work. And that's really, I think, all that they need to do, really, is just lock in and just go to work for a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Women's D1, essential to do so.
I think that they have
men's D2, pretty essential to
Yeah.
do so. Men's D1, also pretty essential to do so.
I think the women's team, I feel like, is on the most stress to win this weekend, in my opinion.
Or most pressure, yeah.
To win. I feel like if the D2 team loses one of these two games and they win one, all right, you have it. They're the one that actually have another game next weekend against Colorado State, so they can, you know, show up. By the way, if you're going to show up to the game, to the D1 hockey game for CU CSU, amazing. We love that crowd.
Please
it's going to
show
be
up.
crazy.
Please show up.
But also show up to the D2 game next Friday. Bring the same energy. The D2
Yes.
Buffs
December
need
8th.
your help.
December 8th against CSU for D2.
Let me get the time real quick.
Yes, we can put up if need be.
7 p.m. Mountain Time, Friday, December 8th at the Rec. Be there or be square.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be fun. December 2nd for D1 team here against CSU. December 8th for the D2 team.
It's going to be
against
really interesting
CSU.
because the D2 team's playing right before them, too. So you got some people who will probably be filing in for that game against Texas.
Yeah, and especially because I'm expecting this CSU game to garner a large crowd. It did last year, and
I think there will be more people.
I've kept talking about the windows that they painted over, but they did. I think there's going to be more people in the rink.
Well, I
and
think that's the
create
big
more
reason
of an
because there's
atmosphere.
not as much of a way
Panoramic
to
view. Yeah.
You can't just sit there and watch. You can sit there and watch on the one side that's always been there.
Yep.
But you're gonna have to suffer in the cold a little bit. I mean, the rec center, I know it gets cold, but you're gonna have to suffer through it a little bit.
Bring a jacket or a jersey. Or,
Yep. I mean, everyone
or
goes and walks
something.
out during the intermission anyways. That's okay.
Yeah.
But
Bring your jerseys. The
women's team.
the women's team was
today,
selling. Yep, just sold out some jerseys today from 8 a.m. to.
They were going to
should have
go
been
until I think
3
like for
p.m.
another-
But I
yeah.
think they sold out by noon.
They
honestly.
did a great job.
Yeah. No, wear CU merch. Don't wear green.
Unless you for
don't
some
wear
reason
green.
are a Ram fan.
Well,
I don't know why you'd root for the Rams.
Well, if you're a Ram, I was gonna say if you're a Rams fan, I don't really know why you've watched an hour long of this podcast, not
That is true.
not on your team, despite the amount we've been talking about your school. I don't know why you're here, but if you are, thank you for
Thank
watching.
you.
But
We do appreciate it.
I know.
Regardless.
We've been talking so much about your school and how bad it is, but thank you if you are a Rams fan watching this. Not how bad it is, but just how much better we are as a school. But no, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people showing up to the broadcast online, and there's going to be a lot of people showing up.
Oh boy, am I
I
excited
hope
for it this weekend.
to the game in person, and I think it's going to be really nice. I think we're going to try to be
as broadcasters,
spiffy as we can, and I think it'll be really fun. So just really, really big games here in Boulder for all the teams. I was trying to find another B word there for alliteration, but not quite.
So yeah, huge weekend for the Buffs this weekend. Please, if you are around in Boulder this weekend, you don't have anything else to do, because guess what? Football season's over.
Yeah.
You don't got more. There's no football to watch on Saturday.
Basketball, also against CSU.
To be fair, I'm gonna be watching that tomorrow night. I'm gonna be watching that. But I mean, there's plenty of hockey. If you are a fan of hockey and you like CU or CSU, for that matter,
even if you're not a fan of hockey,
watch.
It's gonna be a good game. It's gonna be a good couple games.
It's a great way to experience your first couple of hockey games. I think that the atmosphere for the CU CSU game is going to be electric. I feel like the game before will be fun.
At any level of hockey, there's just something about just like an electric, especially rivalry atmosphere that just is just really good and just great to watch in person. And regardless of how the score will be, regardless of if we win or not, regardless of how good the game will be, I just think it will be fun to be at. So if you can be there, be at the rec center.
It's the Rocky Mountain Showdown in every other sport, but in hockey, it's the Rocky Mountain Face-Off. Be there December 2nd. I think that's 7 p.m. start time. Or is it 8?
I want to say it's 7:30 for the home game. I think it's 7 in Fort Collins and 7:30 in Boulder, I believe.
7:45 in Fort Collins, 7 here in Boulder.
Okay, I had it
7 p.m. for the Rocky Mountain Face-Off. If you want to go up to Fort Collins, make the hour-long trip up there, go for it.
Represent the Buffs, let's go.
7:45 p.m. at the Adora Ice Pool. Going to be great.
Are we trying to be there on Friday?
We'll discuss about it. We'll try.
Undetermined.
We'll discuss it because we're gonna have to work it out with the women's game.
That's true.
Hold on to it. I mean, CSU will be streaming it as well, so you'll still be able to watch it.
Yeah, 100%.
But I don't think they've really had any commentary this year so far, so we'd like to provide that for you guys as well. But man, I'm just excited for hockey this weekend. I mean, I've been waiting for the Rocky Mountain Face-Off all semester long.
Yeah,
it's super really glad fun. It's finally here.
It's like the one that I like look on the schedule and mark that.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, every game is fun and important. I love all the games. The team does the
same exact thing.
But this is the big rivalry ones that I'm like, okay, this will be fun. And obviously, then we have the second, at least for D1, the second set against CSU in early March, I want to say.
It's mid-February.
Is it mid-February?
They actually play games after that.
Yeah, sorry. It finished with CSU last year in late February, but yeah.
But I mean, hey, the D2 will have another home game against Colorado State early February. And then, of course, I think the same exact weekend the D1 team plays CSU, that the women's team will play CSU. So
yeah,
a lot of Rocky Mountain face-off action this season across all three of our teams. We're on the scene for all the games that we can be. All the home games for sure. Out in Fort Collins, who knows?
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll do our best.
We'll do our best. But we're going to make sure that we can get you guys the best broadcast that we can, as we'd love to put out our best broadcast of the year this weekend, I'd assume. I think that would be very fitting. Very fitting.
I would hope. They're going to be keeping me busy probably during the entire broadcast.
You are doing God's work, my friend. You are doing a great job.
That second period, I think it was the first Missouri State game, but it could have been the second one, whatever it was. That second period with all those penalties, I was
the goals and
the penalties and the goals. I was sitting here for probably like a good just 10 minutes, being like, okay, penalty, goal, penalty, put that up, goal, penalty, put that up, goal. You guys were talking about whatever you were on about. I wasn't even listening.
He's doing a great job running the graphics and being the producer, making it all happen. He's been doing a great job. So we hope you all tune in to our broadcast this weekend, Friday, 5 p.m. against Grand Canyon, the women's team against Grand Canyon. We'll see if we can get you that Colorado State game out in Fort Collins at 7:45 right after.
But if not, then we will be here.
Then we will be here Saturday, 4 p.m. D2 versus Texas, 7 p.m. D1 versus Colorado State, and then Sunday, I think that's 11 a.m. Colorado Grand Canyon Take 2, and that'll almost be it for the first semester. We'll have one more broadcast the following Friday, D2 against CSU. Show up 7 p.m. Friday, December 8th. That'll be the final broadcast, final hockey broadcast of the semester for us here at Scobuff Sports. Any final comments, Aidan?
Well, actually, I did actually have something that I didn't know if you've seen or not. This isn't specifically related to any of our teams in particular. It's just general ACHA D1. Did you see they're adding a new conference?
Oh, no, I did not, actually.
Yes, they're adding a brand new conference next season.
I did see, like SDSU and Northern Arizona are joining the WCHL. Minot State's joining, I think, MCH.
Yep, yeah, they're not being independent anymore. But no, the GL6, the Great Lakes 6 hockey conference.
Do you know did they say who's going to be in it?
Yep, is being formed. It's going to be officially begin play in the 24-25 season.
Okay, next season.
Yep, and they include. And so this is the big thing, and why I mention it is because if this conference existed right now, they would be the top conference in all of ACHA.
Oh God!
Yeah. Just listen to this. We've been talking about how WCHL has been, the average highest ranked conference. This would be higher than that. This includes no. Get ready.
Okay.
This includes number 1, Adrian College.
Oh wow.
Number 11, Purdue Northwest.
Okay.
Number 12, Calvin University.
Okay.
Number 16, Grand Valley State.
Wow.
And number 17, Davenport University.
Wow, so they're taking a little bit of
as well as Roosevelt University from Chicago.
They're taking, so basically 6 of the schools in the Great Lakes Collegiate Conference, the GLCHL, are leaving to form their own conference.
Yep.
That is really interesting.
Yes.
I want to say all of those schools, except for Purdue Northwest, I think Roosevelt as well. I think the other 4 schools are all in Michigan, though, which is really funny.
I'm not sure that. But in this most, and ACHA says right here, in this most recent men's Division I ranking, 5 of these 6 teams, being the ones I listed, are ranked in the top
Roosevelt,
17.
the outlier.
Yeah. And if active today, conference's average ranking would put the GL6 on top of all ACHA D1 conferences. And the members of this team have combined for 8 previous ACHA national championships.
I forgot Adrian took over Minot
with
State.
Adrian beating, I believe, Minot and taking over from them.
Maybe, but I know that they took over their spot.
But yeah, the Adrian won for D1 in 2018, 2021. Calvin won for D3 in 2004.
Okay.
Davenport, all for the first 3, 2008, 9, 10. So 3 straight years of D2 championship, plus a 2011 D1. And
4 straight championship seasons, and they included a switch. Oh, wow, that's impressive.
Yep, and Grand Valley, a D2 2011 championship.
Wow.
So this is going to be, I would assume, based on, our playing, I really doubt we honestly play any of these colleges really recently.
I think maybe Missouri State or like Oklahoma schools maybe get a shot at those schools, but I don't think we're going to be facing off.
But starting next year, big new powerful conference in the ACHA that is
huge.
Will should they keep up how they've been playing, it might take over top spot of
I was
WCHL.
not expecting that to be just all teams who are in a conference. I thought they were going to be taking a couple independents like Ohio or Iowa State or Illinois or maybe even Liberty, or maybe even Maryville. Like no, it is strictly just stripping teams from one conference and just creating a new one.
Yep, brand new, and it's I would assume going to be a powerhouse in the ACHA. So yeah, and that is as of today, November 28th, as of recording this, Tuesday, November 28th, 2023. This has been released. They released that. I saw that on the ACHA Men's D1 Twitter.
That is
Earlier
wild.
today. Yep, yeah, brand new 6-school conference, which I would assume honestly they probably expand over the years. Obviously,
because
obviously the WCHL started out with
6.
6 teams or whatever, and then
They've
they're now up to
added
10.
UNLV, Missouri State, Grand Canyon, and Utah, I believe.
ASU, or is it Utah?
I think maybe Arizona and UC. were
I'm
the
trying to
original.
think who's on the outdated poster in the ring.
Yeah. Regardless, big changes in the ACHA because not only that, WCHL is getting 2 more teams. They already have the biggest conference as well as the GLCHL, which is losing 6 members. So WCHL will be the biggest conference in the country. They're going to get up to 12 teams. And I'd be interested to see when Oregon finally makes their jump to the WCHL at some point.
Because I would assume they will. Because obviously San Diego State is
there's no one around them. Well, I think that's probably
San Diego
why
State
they
is
didn't
independent, joining WCHL, and you said Northern Arizona.
Yeah, they're currently in D2. They're moving up next season.
And you have
they're gonna that is a tough ask as a first year D1 team.
Yeah.
That is going to be tough.
Hey, we might not be last in the conference next next year. But University of Oregon, they're in what? This is their second D1 season?
I think so. I think them and SDSU. I want to say Oregon was the year before. I want to say
it's
maybe
the second or third.
Yeah,
second or third.
They're
for the
still
Ducks.
a new D1 team.
And I would assume they probably join WCHL.
They probably have to get another
rather
team
than later.
They probably have to get another team to move up to grab. So they probably got to look. They're probably going to look at the the BMHC or the PAC or what is it called the PAC 8, which is like Cal, USC, Utah, Washington. Maybe they get Washington to move up. Maybe they get UCLA and the WCHC. Maybe they get one of those schools. Because that's where NAU's from. So I mean, there's plenty of schools to choose from, but they're probably going to have to move someone else up to put Oregon in the WCHC.
But I definitely think honestly it's likely. Because both Oregon and San Diego State are independent this year, being newer teams, and San Diego State with a really, really great rebound from last year. They've played 15 games. They currently have 15 points. They're 5-9, 1-1.
They've like quadrupled their win total.
Yeah, well, okay. If you're going by actual ACHA 5-1, 9-1.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've marketed increase from last year, and if you're Oregon, you're looking at another new independent team joining a very good conference, and you're thinking, hey, why not us?
Maybe they get Iowa State to come and join the conference.
So,
I mean, it wouldn't be a
not
complete
quite
outlier.
Western, but that
I mean, we have two Oklahoma schools in Missouri State.
That's true.
So, I mean,
that's true.
It wouldn't be like truly WCHL, but like if you're trying to get in now, it wouldn't be the craziest thing.
There's so much. With football, they're literally putting USC and UCLA in the Big Ten Midwest.
Why can't the ACHA have messed up conference realignment?
And Cal, Berkeley, and Stanford are going to be in the ACC. So
don't even get me started on how stupid that is.
So clearly there's not. A great adherence
has
to
just gone completely thrown out the window with this stuff. So
it's definitely not out of the question. But yeah, really, really big moves, at least in D1. For the ACHA right now, obviously, new conference next year, new conference members for WCHL. I don't know off the top of my head if any of the other men's D1 conferences are expanding or changing or anything.
I think that
but
there are
at least some big moves with a couple of them right now, and it'll be fun, I think.
There'll be 4 teams moving up next season. NAU is one of them. They're joining the WCHL.
Yep.
I don't know where the other schools are going to go, if they're going to be independent for a year or join a conference. Have no idea at that point, but Mary just hopped up to D1 this season, and they're already in the MCH, and they're top 5 now, I think. So, I mean, they're number 5. I mean, so there's room in D1. I mean, D2 has almost 200 teams, D1 not even over 75, so there's plenty of room.
There's
come join the D1.
Come join, give us more.
Especially if you don't have a D1 team already.
Exactly. No, just general, also just like expansion for college club hockey, because
Well, I mean, that's why I'm happy to see that Idaho State started the team because, you're going to stink for a year or two, right? As you get the program started. But it's just fun. Club hockey is fun, and it
is college hockey, not to disregard any of our 3 college teams because as much as I think all 3 of us, you, Jared, and I, have kind of clamored as much as we'd love a D1 NCAA hockey team. I think personally it would be fantastic. I think Boulder would.
It's perfect.
Would be really responsive to it. I think it'd be great with DU
state.
nearby.
Yep. Colorado College, Air Force.
And
then you get ASU, and now a modern Big 12 rival as well.
Yeah, I think it'd be really, really great for us to have that. But that takes a significant investment.
Yeah.
However, we have 3 college hockey teams. They're not NCAA, but we have 3 college hockey teams, and they're really good. And so it's really fun to watch. It's very good, just generally for just schools across the country, especially ones that aren't Michigan, ones that aren't Arizona State, ones that aren't
Notre Dame, State,
Quinnipiac, Penn State. All these big NCAA schools.
Minnesota,
Duluth, forgot about
Minnesota
the Gophers.
State.
Mankato, all these teams. It's really big for a lot of these colleges that don't have those larger and more followed hockey teams to still be having hockey and still grow the game throughout the country through so many different college players and different levels of D1 through D3 and ACHA.
Yep.
It's just really, really great expansion. And it also paves the way for future NCAA expansion at some point because the ASU NCAA team was a club team until like 5
Yeah, they got a massive investment.
Yeah, it was like 5 or 6 years ago or whatever. Huge investment to make it.
Well, have you seen
NCAA
the crowds at some of these D2 games that have been played outdoors? Like Appalachian State and Charlotte played a couple weeks ago. Last year, North Carolina State played in front of nearly 30K.
Yep, just
I
just
think
after
one of their
Stadium
2 stadiums.
Series.
I forget it. So I think it was at North Carolina State.
Yeah, it was after the Canes Capital Stadium Series.
So it's like these club hockey can draw the big crowds, and frankly,
sure.
I would love to see both UNC and NC State in D1. I think a lot of those D2 programs could make the jump.
Well, when UNC's reinstated, but ignore that. Just pretend they can get to D1.
Yeah, I'd like to see. I was talking about North Carolina. And
not
Northern Colorado.
I'm thinking of it in our conference and nearby. But
at that school in Greeley. I'd like to see some of because there's so many just household names in D2 that aren't up there. I think I'd love to see some of those programs up in the D1 level, but I don't know. Maybe it's just the skill level's different. But there's so much to talk about overall in the ACHA that we can't fit it in now. We've already gone for almost an hour and a half now.
Apologies. It's our bad.
And so there's so much to talk with the ACHA.
Jared's going to check this one out when we post it on Thursday. He's going to be like, what did you talk about? An hour and a half? What on earth?
I think it's a really infatuating league with 3 divisions, 3 men's divisions and 2 women's divisions. I think it's just such a really interesting league to follow.
And there's so many teams.
And it feels like the club sport that seems to draw the biggest attention. I feel like when it comes to club sports, this and lacrosse seem to be the ones that most people on campus, if they're familiar with any club sports, they're familiar with these teams because these are the
Are you
sports.
talking about general campus or CU?
General campus.
Yeah,
That's what it feels like.
I would agree.
Because baseball kind of exists, but most teams have baseball team. Not every team is like CU and doesn't have a baseball team. A lot of schools,
and even
schools,
then, to be completely honestly, baseball is
a different
dwindling a little bit. I think in popularity just over the country overall, even like MLB level. Yeah. So it's. I think you're right, and these are
and it's just
more popular.
There's so many of these household name schools that don't have D1 programs that have club programs here. So they get all the attention. They get the first priority, which is probably why teams like Denver don't get the most attention when it comes to their
Yep.
club team because they have a national championship winning.
Yeah, national championship
D1
within the
team.
last 2 years. Denver's currently ranked either. Denver's ranked third. Their
Well,
NCAA
see,
team
that's what,
currently
like-
ranked third going into a huge matchup actually this weekend with number 2 North Dakota State. And you just don't have.
You don't get that.
You don't actually. I just a couple days ago was at a DU game, which was really fun. They won 9-0 over Yale.
Holy cow!
The previous night they won 5-0 over Yale. So yeah, it was huge win, and you have those D1 teams that are just really really good. Minnesota, Denver, North Dakota State, Michigan. They're all really good. And then you have I don't know if Michigan itself has an ACA like a club team, but I know Michigan.
they have a
I know,
D3
I know
team,
Michigan Dearborn does.
And they're really good here in the D1
Yep.
department. I think like Michigan Ann Arbor has a team in D3. I think.
Yep. So it's just
Or wait,
there's a lot.
no, they
of
have one. They have a
opportunity.
D2 team. Never mind, they have a D2 team.
Okay. There's a lot of opportunity here.
Club hockey is college hockey.
Yes,
come
that's-
watch the ACHA. It's
Literally.
great.
There's, that's the slogan of what is it, like ACHA show or
Hockey House,
or Hockey
I
House
forget
Pod
exactly
or whichever account
well.
it is. Yeah.
And they're doing a great job promoting this league. If
Yep.
you're interested in just what's going on around the ACHA, go give those accounts a follow and a peep because they hype up these big games and they also show off these great jersey reveals.
Games of the week, jersey reveals.
They bring attention to these outdoor games that are happening. Like,
Yep.
boy, would I kill for a outdoor game at Folsom
Folsom.
Field between the Buffs and the Rams? Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
that would be one of the. That would be like the
fantastic.
greatest thing I've ever seen. That would be unbelievable.
Because think about it, even if it wasn't NCAA, right? If it is D1, these two teams that are about to play this weekend.
yeah.
How many people do you think would fill Folsom?
We already get a bunch of people coming here now, and then with
Folsom
the prime
capacity.
effect,
Folsom capacity is what, 53,000
Little
or
over- yeah, a little
so.
over
So
50K.
I would say probably 25. 20
with
to
the prime
30,000.
effect.
Yeah,
I mean, come on, we're getting a pretty good crowd here.
yeah.
I would love it.
I think, and honestly, even in that scenario, you could probably, as the school, get some of those really highly notable football players, or like even Prime himself, even if they don't care about hockey that much. Which honestly,
Imagine Prime shows up this weekend.
that would be honestly. Obviously, I don't know really, much about
I don't
them
think it'll
personally.
happen. I don't think it'll happen.
Well,
Maybe the one in February.
I obviously don't know much about them personally, but they're probably not the biggest hockey fans, if I'm being honest. But
well, it's
like,
because hockey's not prevalent in the South.
but even if you were able to get just like that presence at like an outdoor game at Folsom, I think like the students here would be like,
They go nuts
go
for it.
see an outdoor hockey game where we can sit in the
And it's
sure.
my college too.
Yeah, and the big draw is it's against Colorado State. Yeah, let's go.
Dude, hell yeah.
Yeah, like
You'd have people driving down from Fort Collins to come see the game.
Yep. Yeah, a ton of CSU people would come. I think it would be different versus any other college. Honestly, I don't think it would draw as much versus any other college. But the rivalry between the Rams and the Buffs, I think, would draw a lot. And it would be, even if you don't want to find the money, donate the money, whatever, for an NCAA team, figure something like this out.
Yep.
It would be
Come watch them at the Rec.
fantastic. It would just be such a fun atmosphere. Really, really, really fun. And in a stadium as historic as Folsom, literally just in its 100th year this season, like come on. That would
Make it happen.
Make
They
it
have to.
happen.
They probably have to get the Avs at an outdoor game for it to happen. Probably at Folsom.
Get the Avs to sponsor it.
Get the Avs to play an outdoor game at Folsom. Don't go to Colorado Springs. Don't go there next time.
The stadium series. You didn't like the stadium series in the Air Force
Don't go there next
Academy?
time. Come to Folsom.
Yeah, come to Folsom. Outdoor. Yeah, I mean, yeah. They honestly, you could organize with the NHL like they did the stadium series this past. Do a Colorado. Take your pick. Minnesota, Detroit, St. Louis, Vegas. If you want.
My goodness!
Take your pick.
A Colorado St. Louis game outdoor would be
at
ridiculous.
Folsom, and then either the day before or the day after,
You get the Buffs and the Rams.
Buffs and Rams. I think it'd be a huge draw.
Oh my gosh.
Get it done. Come on, whoever's in charge of that, Phil, whatever, whoever's
Come on,
in charge.
let's make it happen.
I
us.
would be trying to see what we should have done is talked about this not 90 minutes into this episode.
Exactly.
Instead 5 minutes in, so people
Maybe
can see
we'll
that,
make
but
a pitch next week after the game again.
depending on how it goes, maybe if you're still here watching this episode, thank you. Okay, you can tell by the the time length on the bottom of the video that this is almost over, but thank you for watching this long
and
if you're still
humoring
here.
us for our just rambling for the last 20 minutes.
We've just been talking, but sometimes that's the best.
Right, sometimes people like
it's the
that,
best
and that's
episodes.
okay.
Maybe you're on a long drive. Maybe you're like, yes, I really
Want to listen
to
about CU hockey.
Dangle, CU hockey, Dangle, Snipe, and Stampede with Alex, normally Jared, and often Aidan. Maybe you just want to be listening. But thank you either way if you are still here and watching this.
Yep, we won't keep you much longer. That is going to officially do it for reals this time. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Dangle, Snipe, and Stampede. I've been Alex Roberts. That's Aidan Glockner joining me today. We hope you have an exciting and wonderful week of hockey here at CU. You heard it here first on ScoBuff Sports. We'll see you in the next episode.
Let's go Buffs.